everybody, happy Wind Down Wednesday. Hope everyone is doing well. The background is different because I'm traveling. I'm actually in New York for Afropunk and to help Stuzo with their Dapper Q presentation. Hi, Maya. Nisha, I see you, so I'm going to send you a request. I'm working on it right now. You should see the invite right now. Let me know if that didn't come through. So while Nisha, who's the founder of Beauty and a Book Box, joins. Oh, hey! How are you?
Hi, Isis. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Your back- Yes, I can hear you. Your background is so vibrant, which makes my background feel hyper sterile. Anyway, so how is your Wednesday been? And I'm asking you, and I'm also asking the people on the chat how everybody's Wednesday has been.
Mine has been good. We recently went back to school. I'm here in New York, so it's just, getting back into the groove after, the summertime, getting the students acclimated to being back in the classroom.
Yay! I knew you were in New York, but I forgot Learn to Grow You since Hey Sis. I think that doesn't look familiar to me, so maybe that's your friend.
Money.
And then Film Future says, tiring, hot, but grateful. It's like hot all over the country. So, and also what I was saying is that I know you, like in my brain, I knew you were in New York, and then I forgot because I'm in New York
Yeah,
right
I
now.
just heard you say that, and I was like, oh, she's in New York. That's awesome.
I'm in New York, so maybe we can meet for lunch tomorrow if that works for your schedule. But if not, that's totally okay because I did not put it in your schedule. So,
So you said you're going to be working Afropunk?
yes.
Okay, because I know someone, one of my friends said she's going to be there doing like a setup for, I think, massages or self-care, I think on Saturday and Sunday. So, but we'll organize and see if
Well,
we
yeah.
can meet up.
Yay, that would be awesome. Um, Afro, on a side note, Afropunk is very different this year. Um, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so where do I, oh yeah, sometimes I get so excited about Sister Sci-Fi One Day Wednesdays, I forget to pause and say, please introduce yourself. Tell us, and tell us about it.
So my name is Nisha Parker. I am a mom, wife, educator, and entrepreneur. I am the founder of Beauty and a Book Box and Beauty and a Book Retreats. Beauty and a Book Box is a quarterly subscription box where we send out books and beauty products to tweens, teens, and adults every quarter. And then our retreat, we host teen retreats and adult retreats every year.
Yay! So we connected on email because I love beauty in a book box. But tell us more. So what was the impetus? You're just like, I really love books. I'm gonna start a business around this, or was it something else?
So I actually I wrote a book in 2017, and I was on my self-proclaimed book tour. And a lot of people were just, sharing that they weren't reading. And I was living in California at the time. And I was like, we have to do something about that. Like, just as an educator, I always make it my goal to encourage my students to read and to read for leisure. So I started off with a book club, a virtual book club on Facebook. And then I, decided, well, we want to be in the homes, you know, of people so that when they're not at the book club meeting, they're still interacting with that literature. So someone told me about a subscription box model, and I collaborated with some people to design like the concepts. I went to one book event and they had like some vendors that were selling like makeup items and stuff, and the lines were so long, but all of the book, like the author lines, they were okay, but people were just like, oh, I don't have time to read. I haven't read in so long, so I was still seeing that same pattern. So I'm like, maybe if we combine, something that people are interested in, which is, how they look, their appearance. If we combine that with literacy, it will encourage, people to read. And maybe they had a love for reading once before, and with work and family life and everything, they just don't honestly have the time to read. So giving them those options. And so, yeah, we came up with the box. We were monthly originally, and that was just too much for us to pack on our own. So in 2020, we decided to become a quarterly box, to add a tween and teen edition. And then we also launched the retreat so that we could have like the in-person experience.
I love all of that. I'm like, where do I begin? Okay, so let's begin with, so I wrote a book, because you may have told that to me and it didn't sink, but now that you're saying it out loud, it's sinking. So tell us about the book that you wrote.
So it was a novella. It was like a short story, I would say. And it was a thriller. It was about an educator who basically, average family life. She was living in Brooklyn, and with her husband and her kids. And there was a lot of things that transpired within her career, and her marriage and her relationship with her children. And so at the end, she ended up like being on the run, and it was just like it went from 0 to 100. So like when people were reading it, they were like, "Oh my gosh!" So it's supposed to be a trilogy, but just with life, I was still drafting part two. So there was a cliffhanger, and a lot of people were upset about that. But I understand, So, but yeah, that's like the basis of the story.
Yeah, so basically it's your life.
Kind of. But then I took like, because I'm a special education teacher, so I took like some stories that I've, interacted with from families that I've met, and also from moving from Brooklyn to Bakersfield, and then back to New York. Just like that transition, things that, I experienced, that I've seen. So I kind of took a little bit of things. And I watch, like my husband's always saying, like, stop watching like those like Snapped and Fatal Attraction stuff, but I watch, different like crime TV or whatever. So I incorporated some of that in it as well, just to make it more interesting.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm trying to find your book. Nisha.
It's under Nisha Frey, my pen name. So it's called Daia's Destiny, Daia, and then Destiny. I think it's available on Amazon, like the Kindle free version, because I had taken it down because I was like, okay, because people were really like, we need part two, we need part two. It was a lot of pressure.
Okay, so you said it was DAI, Day of Destiny?
Daia, and then Destiny.
Okay. So, yeah. So if anybody, so I'm looking at Anisha Gray novella. I'm probably misspelling day, because I'm dyslexic.
I'll put it in here.
Okay. Brilliant. Cool. Okay. So you wrote a book, and then, yeah, So we read
I,
something else,
I,
which is what I think
you
right.
know what? It came up wrong in the because it did the like
Autocorrect.
yeah, autocorrect. Uh, all right, there we go.
Okay, and Maya always has us, so appreciate that. And so, you're in a book box, you're like, there's a demand for it, I'm gonna make this happen. What was your first step? Was it to get the book? Was it to get the merchandise?
My
Was it,
first step was to curate like the boxes on paper. So I started writing out, okay, what will we send out for a January box? What will we send out for a February box? And I went through the entire year and just curated bookish items, what books were coming out during that year, what books were classics that we wanted to include, what beauty products would be ideal, because we didn't do like foundation or things, because everybody got the same
yeah.
beauty products. So we tried to get beauty products that would fit for everyone. So I did that first. I had been in business before. I had an online boutique and I had an event planning company. So I had some connections to, different people. So I started sending out emails like, hey, are you interested in your product being in our box? This is what we're doing. I definitely wanted to to donate to classrooms. That was very important to me. So that was one thing that we incorporated was like, a portion of the proceeds would go to classrooms. So we used like donors choose, looked at which projects teachers were doing in their classrooms that they needed funding for, and we provided funding for that. So yeah, it was just laying out what it would look like on paper and then reaching out to different companies and then publishers for the books, getting suggestions from them. Um, and then it really started flowing. We signed up for Cratejoy, which Cratejoy is a site for all subscription boxes. All subscription boxes don't sign up with them, but we felt that it was the perfect place for us because they already have the platform. People who go to their site go there because they want to buy a subscription box or they want to subscribe. So we did that. And actually, our first customers came from Cratejoy's marketplace.
Oh, yay! So, the subscription box is going well. Great Joy's helping you with customer acquisitions. And then COVID happens, and you and your team was like, oh, we want to plan in-person trips.
Yes. So we didn't start planning it really until the end, close to the end of 2020. Um, because I travel frequently, or when I did before 2020, I was going through so much like travel anxiety, like, oh my gosh, like I want to go places, but I can't, I don't know how to travel safely now because I'm also, afraid. So I once again put it on paper, like what would a retreat look like after COVID? And I laid it out like so we didn't allow a lot of people. You had to like fill out an application. We had all of like the COVID guidelines in that application or that contract. We also let people know that, the CDC regulations were changing frequently. So to be flexible. Um, and we also saw a yearning for people to get outside, but we wanted to offer something safe. So the house that we rented was a 10,000 square foot home. Everyone had their own private bathroom, their own room. Everything was spaced out. We did not allow like attendees to share rooms unless they knew each other and they booked together. Um, and yeah, and then this year was our first. That this year is when it happened. So this year was our first retreat. So that was 2 years later. So we started planning in 2020, and then for this year.
And this year, the first retreat
Was in
Florida.
Florida. Yep.
Yay! Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. So beautiful segue. I can say I purposely planned it out like this, but for those who watch often, you know that this is a bit more fluid than that. So that brings us to the Jamaica trip, which Sistah Scifi is happy to support and promote, which will happen June of 2023. I dropped the link in the chat for those who want more information. So tell us about that, and then that will bring us into Midnight with Harper. So I love it when things flow.
Yes. So the Jamaica 2023 retreat since we had to limit so many people for Florida, we created like a wait list of people who wanted to go on our retreat. And then when Jamaica released, we sent it out to attendees that were interested. So Jamaica will be our largest retreat. So we moved it from the house setting to a hotel, a boutique hotel. We'll have an author panel as opposed to just one focused author like we did in Florida. All of our retreats are all inclusive. So they include breakfast, lunch, dinner, beverages, both non-alcohol and alcohol, transportation to and from the airport, excursions, and then the fun thing that everyone loves is our book brunch. So at our book brunch for Jamaica, we're going to have an author panel. That's when the book signing happens. That's when, we get to talk with the author, the attendees get to ask questions. So the books that we read, we now get a chance to interact with the people that wrote them. And I think that that experience for people, it just trumps everything. Like they really love that part. So the book brunch is always like a thing where we dress up. We have the photographer there. They take professional photos. And then like for Florida, I sent a custom frame to everyone that said Book Brunch 2022 Florida, just so that they can have as a keepsake. And then what else did we do? This year we did massages and manicures. For Jamaica, we're going to do massages. And the hotel also has a bathhouse. So it has like the really cold, like the frigid tub, and then it has the hot tub and then a warm tub. They also have a sauna. What else? We're doing Dunn's River Falls, a catamaran, the Appleton Rum Tour. Yeah, so it's like a lot of things, but we have it portioned out where like people still get to rest. We have daily yoga sessions. Those are private for our group only. That's pretty much it. It's so much that I just listed it on the site because sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing that also. And
yeah, so it's at BPJ Snap says that sounds amazing. It does sound amazing. So I'm definitely planning to be there. Then okay, we'll go back. So information about I'm hoping since it's a beauty and a book retreat and Sistah Scifi collaboration that we'll get to do a Kingston inspired midnight robbery inspired tour of Kingston, which I know is kind of far from like Montego Bay, but I think that would be really cool. So we'll continue to talk about that. So for the author panel, do you focus on authors who are based in Jamaica? Do they come for the trip? How does that work? Are they here? Are they there the whole time?
So right now we are, because last year, well, I keep saying last year, but the one that we just had, we learned some things, and that's just with trial and error with business. So right now we are having some local authors join us, and then we are flying out some authors because some authors, I know some publicists and stuff. I went to Black Writers Weekend and I was able to collaborate with a lot of people. So I just sent out like a mass email like, hey, we're having this event in 2 years. So I did that last year. And I was like, you know, if you have any authors that you represent and if they would be interested in being on the panel for our retreat, they could fill out this form. And it was kind of, you know, like that. So it'll be a mixture. And so what we're going to have each author do is just like introduce themselves, you know, state what the name of their book is, because you know, if you have multiple titles, we ask them to choose one book that they want to focus on, because prior to the events we send out a custom beauty in a book box, so the attendees will like select which author's book they want, and then we'll send that book to them. So we support the authors on both sides, like purchasing their book, but also, you know, paying them to come and be on the panel.
Yeah. So, partiers, which is set in Barbados, they're local-ish. They're not like in-country local. They're regionally local. But I know I owe you a list. You're like, we talked about the list. I should send you a list, and I haven't. So
No,
I'm working on the list. So before we go dive deeper into the book, the call, the reading. So I know I mispronounced your first name, but maybe it's Nick Hall be reading. I'm not quite sure. Says, what did the conversations look like when you reached out to publishers and business owners when building out what would be included in the subscription box? And you didn't miss that part. We didn't go that deep into it. Yes.
So for the publishers, you basically like create an account, and they if they have a minimum, then they'll let you know. But usually they don't have a minimum. It just depends on like what books you're looking for. More popular books, I find them to be more flexible, and maybe because they're sending out so many that it's not really a loss in printing. For the beauty products, I collaborated with some people before, like for when I had the boutique. So it was just a matter of how much, you know, percentage can you give us for like the wholesale discount. And that's how we came up with the pricing for the box. But yeah, the publishers, you usually just reach out to them and create an account with them. And with the beauty products, because we don't just do makeup, so we do skincare, we do fragrance, we do we've sent out like cuticle oil. So it really just depends. But they're usually flexible too. It just depends on the brand.
I have a recommendation for a Black woman-owned vegan nail polish. Have you worked with her already?
No.
I'll send it to you after this. I know the name of it, and for some reason in this moment, I'm blanking. Okay. What's been your favorite book and or product that you put in the subscription box?
I will say, let's see. For the book, Cicely Tyson's Just As I Am was my absolute favorite. It was such a deep, memorable like read, and I was happy to be able to share that with the subscribers. The products, we had the reading lights that go around like your neck. And so like if you're in bed at night, instead of hanging a reading light or putting it on your book, you just put it around your neck and you can read. And it shows up bright, which is great because my vision is going. So it's nice to be able to read, you know, in bed. Another a beauty product that we sent out. The beauty products, I mean, they're really, really, I feel we've gotten a lot better because a lot of brands like Skin Chemist and Dr. Botanicals have been reaching out to us now to put their products in our box. I would say the Moroccan Rose oil from Dr. Botanicals. Um, Also, their soaps, like they send out like these soaps to us, and like when we like sample them and stuff, I'm like, oh no, we have to have this. It moisturizes your skin because we're big about skincare and taking care of your skin before you, if you want to put on makeup, like before you do that, and teaching tweens and teens the same thing. So I would say those are my favorite products. And then we did send out this palette, and it was the glow up palette. I forgot the name of the brand, but it was like so many beautiful colors, so many vibrant colors, and yeah, that one was really really nice.
Yay! So, Doctor, so you don't, so, okay, two questions on this topic. So, Dr. Botanicals, is that a black owned brand?
No, Dr. Botanicals is not a black owned brand.
Okay, so it's like, and part of my ignorance. So, okay, so that's, so for the person who asked, and there's possibility to explain beyond black owned brands, I love the Cicely Tyson book. The reading light seems interesting because I just turn on the overhead light and then I have to, when I'm done reading, I
Yeah.
gotta get up and turn it off. So that makes perfect sense. Um, so we talked about the Jamaica trip. Do you want to talk about Midnight Robber?
Yes, yes, yes. I have my notes. I listened to the audiobook because like I was saying, we just went back to school. So I was like, all right, I need to multitask. So I was
I love it.
taking notes as I was listening. And I also shared um, with some of my coworkers, like, I told them that because some of them are coming on the Jamaica trip, but they're not like too familiar with like Caribbean culture and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, like you should read this book. Let's have some dialogue about it in the English department office. So yes, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Because when I went to Jamaica, like with a friend, um, a little bit after we finished reading the book, like we had a book club discussion and she participated, and we're like, yeah, like this is like, I think it was like Half Moon Tree or something like that. They're like real life references to the book, even though
Yes.
the book is.
I actually wrote them down because I was like, oh, okay, because I went in June to do like the contracts and stuff for the retreat. And so as I was listening, I was writing down like some references. And even being from Brooklyn, like the West Indian Day Parade just passed on Monday. I grew up going to that, and just being amongst like Caribbean culture. It was nice to see like how she used that to connect it with like artificial intelligence and fantasy and stuff. It was really really nice.
Agreed. And I'm not multitasking. I'm trying to, since you said you listen to audiobooks, I'm trying to find the audiobook only program.
Okay, no worries,
Drop
no
it in
worries.
the chat.
No
And
worries.
that's just like, I'm like, why is this so hard for me? And I know they have skin folk, they have falling in love with humanoids, sister mind, and arms, but they don't seem to have Midnight Robbery, so that's why it's so hard for me. Okay, so Midnight Robbery. Midnight Robbery is one of my favorite books to discuss. Um, what did you think of Tantan? What did you think of New Toussaint?
I felt like Tantan was a great character. You saw the development of her throughout the reading. um I mean, she experienced a lot of trauma, but I like that she just kept going, like she pushed through. And I don't know, I felt, because I read this book titled Cinder, and it, for some reason, it connected me. I don't know, it just reminded me of Cinder, in the ways of like, her like escaping and trying to get away from the father's girlfriend, and but I felt like she was a well written, well developed character.
I agree. So Maya says that she hasn't read the book, but she does own a copy. And they're excited to hear us talk about it. So yeah, Tintin was a very I thought, very nuanced and well developed character because we literally see Tintin grow up in the book,
Yes.
right? And there's a lot of trauma and like almost like domestic neglect that Tintin has to navigate through. So I'll ask the people in the chat, let us know if you've read Midnight Robber. What did you think of the character Tintin? Since we're talking about Tintin's childhood, what did you think of Tintin's parents? And this is at the beginning. So her mom, her bio mom, and her bio dad.
So I felt like I wouldn't say they were traditional parents, but because there was, a lot going on. But I feel like the story showed us what people do experience. I feel like like Antonio, the father, was, I can't even really describe his personality, but it was just not positive. So
To put
that's,
it lightly.
yeah, so that's why I think that as you said, like she grows up in front of us, and she's able to navigate through all of that trauma. I was rooting for her because of everything she had experienced with her parents, and it's specifically her dad.
So, and let me know if Toussaintville is off planet from Earth. It's its own planet. We have technologies such as the nanny nets and all these other like Caribbean infused technologies. How is that? How is experiencing that as a reader?
Um, that I think was what reminded me really of Cinder. Like when they were injected, like each person was injected as a baby, I believe, like with nanomites or something. And so that allowed Granny Nanny to hear, or them to hear her, or hear the AI. Like, it also reminded me of like Wakanda,
Oh,
like when I think about like the connection of the technological advances, because Toussaint was a very technologically advanced place, compared to, what was it,
um, half,
half,
new halfway.
yes, new halfway tree. So it was like they were ahead of their time. And also I thought about even like, how, like Black scientists and stuff, like how, we knew a lot of these things and weren't really able to um, be the highlight of things that we've developed. So it reminded me of that as well, like just seeing like all of the things that they were able to do. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that being a place for Caribbean people, away from Earth. So still like, made that connection, but it was like, no, this is where we're going to be. This is, the lifestyle here, which was a lot nicer than where they sent the exiles or the people who were like, not behaving.
And I agree. So I definitely want to talk about dive deeper into you reading about Toussaintville and comparing it to Wakanda because Midnight Robber was published 22 years ago, which is crazy
Yes.
to think. So in 2000, so yeah. Uh, if that book was a person, it would be able to drink. Yeah. Um, and so I think for a lot of Black people, the technology, like African infused technology in Black Panther, felt really new and like innovative and like something they'd never seen before. And for you to say like, oh, this is apparent in a book that came out 20 years ago. How did that feel to you as a reader?
So I did look up the published date because I was like, wow, like this seemed so advanced. And I looked up some stuff about the author just because I was like, wow, like it really, and I know they say like history repeats itself, or, sometimes, like we are connected and we don't know, like, and things just come full circle. But it was way before its time, and on time, because it really showed um greatness. That's what I saw, like those technological advances, Granny Nanny being able to speak to the people of Toussaint, and just the way that their systems were run. um, it made me think of just things that maybe could change and could be positive.
Agreed. And I mean, like, I think Nalo Hopkinson is a brilliant writer.
Yes.
Um, but of her books, I enjoy Midnight Robber the most because the technology is so, I don't know, it felt really perfect. So without spoilers,
Yeah, that's what I'm
so we're to
trying.
some, yeah. So without we're to Seinfeld, there's a great, we have a nanny web, and then bloop, we're sent to New Half Moon Tree. How did you feel about the transition? And the fact that Tan ended up there.
um well, that uh, I understood that I'm trying not to spoil you either. I understood that she had to go because you go where your parents are, or where they say you must go, just naturally. But I felt that it didn't really disservice her because she was able to learn and maneuver in that way. But the things that she experienced when she went was what, where the trauma lies. But she would practice the Midnight Robber, the dance, and recite everything. So I think she was preparing herself. I think that was showing us that, hey, she's getting in preparation for something that she doesn't even know is coming. Um, so that transition, it kind of reminded me of, because I was looking up like some connections. So like the names of some of the places that um, the author used, and most of them are in Jamaica. She uses some references from Trinidad. So it's all in the Caribbean. And I saw that she's a Canadian Jamaican author. Because some of the words I was like, oh, okay, like, I'm familiar with. Um, but I think the transition is showing, like, for me, like when I go to Jamaica, and before 2020, we would go often, but even when I went after, showing like, okay, in this area, it can be, so advanced, especially where the tourists are and everything. And then down the road could be, there could be crime and violence. Um, and so just that transition, and I made that connection while I was reading as well. It was like, I was like, oh, okay, like this is very real. But it's just so hard to believe that it was written 20 years ago, because
Right.
I start to think like, okay, like we've come far, but we still have a long way to go, because we're still seeing the need for, these things to be addressed.
Agreed. Agreed. Oh, so do you want to share with us the references that you caught?
Yes, yeah,
Because
sure.
I got that Google search a couple times and I've never found a really good list, so I'm excited to hear your list.
Okay, so the Midnight Robber is actually a Trinidadian traditional mask character. The various dialect that just stuck out to me was Juve, which they just had Juve in Brooklyn Sunday night, and Obia, which is like voodoo, Duffy, which is like a ghost. The mayor, her dad, Antonio, was the mayor of Cockpit County, which is a region in Jamaica currently. And then Halfway Tree, which is a neighborhood in Kingston, Jamaica. And then the Susu, which I know a lot of people that still do Susu, where they, to save up money, and basically you have a pot and everyone like puts into the pot and stuff. So those are things that stood out to me, and just like my everyday life. I was like, oh, okay. Um, so yeah, that's the connections, the list that I made from
No,
just the
there's a great. I think
vocabulary.
those are. I, yeah. So we're gonna put at some point. I'm gonna put together that list. I've been saying that for a couple years now. But yeah, and just make that as a resource for people who read the book or are interested in reading the book. Um, were there any thoughts or questions that you had about the book that you wanted to ask to me, to the folks in the chat? And again, for the
Um,
folks in the chat, let us know if you've read the book and what your thoughts were.
because whenever I'm reading, I always think about like books that I would bring into the classroom. So that's why I kind of connected it too, because I'm naturally like accustomed to connecting like books from my day to current day for my students, so that, just to increase the level of interest. So I would ask, like, what do you think? Um, I know there's a lot of trauma and, trigger warnings in the book. But if we were to break up the novel, how do you think it would be like to introduce it to like high school students?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one, I'll start off, I'm not an educator, right? So, my opinion is just my opinion. We all have one. Um, but I think it'd be really relevant for high school age readers because a lot of kids in high school are already reading The Bluest Eye.
Yes, they are.
They're already reading Beloved, which has very similar levels of trauma,
Yes,
right? Um, the Color Purple.
yes.
Granted, it was not top of my teacher, but somehow I ended up reading The Color Purple in the fourth grade. It's not fourth grade reading. Um, but yeah, so I would think there's similar levels of trauma. Um, and there's a really great opportunity to like teach your culture outside of the US. So there's not just like, oh, like here's a culture, but like if you experience a culture, then that's not like yours, as in like this is what you see in the home. How do you respectfully dive deeper into it? Which I think is something that we can all
Yes,
like
yes,
a skill that we can all have. In addition to like the technology and the actual like literature and reading as a skill, balance with that history because yeah, I think there's a lot and how it relates, how that Caribbean history, like the names of like Toussaint and what that means in terms
yes.
of in Caribbean history, how that relates to African American history and put that together. It's like a very global experience. So those are my initial thoughts, but obviously I'm very biased because I really love them.
And I like that, well, she named, her baby Tubman, like, and like basically connected to Harriet Tubman. So there was a lot of connection. And I think that is important for students, and that's what I try to do in my classroom, for students to understand that connection, because I feel like sometimes we think that we are so disconnected from other people. Like, oh no, I'm not that, or I'm that, or like I see it all day in the classroom. I'm like, listen, we're all here together. Like we've all had different experiences, but that's why collaboration is so important, you know. So I'm always looking for like new books and stuff. So as I was listening to this book, I was like, oh, like I think the kids would really like this, because we did Cinder, and I mean that was like a romance thing, like, but after a while, you need to diversify the books that are in the classroom. I feel that that's important, so that's what I'm working on.
Yay! That's awesome. So for those of y'all watching and participating in the chat, let us know if you have any questions from reading the book or any comments that you wanted to share. We are now at 5:47. So now it's my second favorite part of Wind Down Wednesday. The first part is everything we've done before. My first favorite part is actually discussing the book. My second favorite part is the this or that questions. So I'll ask you between 3 or 5 this or that questions. It just depends on how many I can come up with. And then you respond like top of mind, rapid fire responses, and then we can talk about them. Okay. Sound good? And then when we're done, if any this or that comes up for you, you're more than welcome. So first this or that. First this or that, brand new for you, Trinidad or Tobago?
Tobago.
Okay, good response. Good. Trinidad is interesting to visit as a tourist. Okay, so the next this or that, DC or Marvel? Also new for you.
DC.
Okay. And for those of y'all watching, feel free to put your answers in the chat. I don't see any right now. That's okay. So then, Black Lightning or Luke Cage?
Black Lightning.
Oh, good. There's always somebody who's like Luke Cage, and I'm like, what?
I love Black Lightning. Like during 2020, my husband and I, we binge watched like all of the seasons. Like that's a hands down for me.
Same. I love like Black Lightning. I love the family. I love the fact that he's trying to raise this. Yeah, so I'm here for that. Okay. So mine says DC as opposed to Marvel, and mine also says Black Lightning. So at least this week we're 100% Black Lightning. If you have some other opinions, drop that in the chat. Eartha Kitt Catwoman or Halle Berry Catwoman?
Eartha Kitt.
Yay! Okay, Eartha Kitt is usually the most Eartha Kitt is usually the most popular, so that is a continuing trend. Okay, I just have to block a user, so that's done. So the next one is why am I? Janelle Monáe or Erykah Badu?
Erykah Badu.
Oh, yours are really good. And that one is usually a hard one. People are like, how can we choose? Is your Erykah Badu? I'm here for it. I usually don't respond to that one. I was like, I love them both. Maya says Eartha Kitt Catwoman as well. And Janelle Monáe, that's usually always a 50-50 split. What else? What do I want to say? Which ones do I want to go with? So this is new, also just for you. Alice Walker or Toni Morrison?
Toni Morrison.
Oh, you're so definitive. I think I would go with Alice Walker.
when I went to Black Writers Weekend, that was when they were releasing her documentary, The Pieces I Am. And yeah, I've always loved her writing. So yeah, but yeah, I know what I like.
Yeah. Toni Morrison is a win. So Maya also says Toni Morrison. I'm always Team Alice because I am. So so yeah. So that'll be me. So now I'll pause. Did you have or this or that you wanted to bring to the group?
Um, Let me see. Sure, I'll do some this and that. So the first one would be I'll do a beauty theme one. So nail polish or lipstick?
Oh, that's a hard one. Damn. Ah, lipstick because it's easier to put on.
All right. Bags,
But mine is nail polish.
nail
So
polish. I would go with nail polish too. Um, Bags or shoes?
earrings.
I love earrings, so I'm an earrings girl.
Yeah, I think in the pandemic, my relationship to shoes has changed a lot. Um, also, BP says nail polish, so nail polish is obviously the winner. Um, but between bags and shoes, it looks 50-50. Maya says bags, and BP says shoes, and I said earrings. So
I'm
obviously, I don't know what I'm talking
50-50 with both too.
about.
Um, Nonfiction or fiction?
Fiction all day.
Yeah, me too. Um, a book fair or the library?
The library, just because I'm really introverted, book fairs are a bit exhausting for me. Maya also says fiction, so it looks like it's fiction for the win.
Um, Let me see.
Oh wait, plan life loss is nonfiction.
Nonfiction.
So
Okay.
so it's not simply, and then both Maya and BP say the library for places. So
Okay. Yeah,
apparently
I
I am not
agree.
alone.
The library is, I am going to go to the Brooklyn Book Festival this year because every year I've been in California, so I always miss it. But I'm like, I'm back this year. I'm going to the Brooklyn Book Festival. Um,
Yeah.
but I do prefer the library because I like to read in peace.
Yeah, in this group, it really is library for the win. Plan life law also says library. So
Okay. And let me see, last one. Um, Memoirs or romance?
graphic novels. I actually don't. I actually maybe memoirs. Neither one. I'm not very versed in either genre. My ex is memoirs. So let's see what other people say. But yeah, I'm not really versed in either. As we wait for VP and Plan Life Law to drop in the responses, I'll go ahead and start to wrap up. Nisha, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for telling us about your experience slash launching Beauty and a Book Box and expanding that brand to retreat. Sistah Scifi is super excited to be a part of the Jamaica retreat happening in 2023. and I'm really excited about the possibility of the Midnight Robber inspired tour of Kingston. I think that would be super fantastic.
Yes,
And then all the other bookish related projects. Um, so yeah, that's really awesome. Have a great, super fantastic school year. I just want to bring in that my
thank
office
you.
as Memorial SSBP. Do you have any closing remarks? Us?
Thank you. I want to say thank you for having me. Thank you, viewers, for participating in the conversation. Thank you for suggesting this book. I'm so happy that I got an opportunity to listen to it. And now, like, I have, something in my reservoir, like I said, to add to my classroom, because I always like to share literary experiences with others. So this is definitely one that I'll be sharing with other people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll email you so we can try to connect this week.
That's fabulous. Yeah. Yes, that would be great. Oh, wait, because I'm in New York. Yeah, that would be great.
And even when I come to
Because
Cali,
when you said that, I was like, connect via Zoom. And I was like, oh, and I was about to say, I'm in New York. And then I was like, wait, it's because I'm in New York that we're going to connect this week. Oh, my struggle was a little bit rough. Yes, that would be fabulous. Like a meal or something like that. I was so excited. So I landed this morning and I was like, the first thing I'm going to do is get cornmeal porridge. I don't care if I eat nothing else today. So I was really excited about that. So,
when I used
yeah.
to come back, I had this Trini spot that I would go to in Long Beach when I was in California. But it was like 3 hours away from my house. But when I was pregnant, my husband would drive me to go
Oh, right.
get roti. Um, but yeah, like whenever I would come back to New York, I always like ate.
Right. Right. So, yeah, we'll connect. Thank you so much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone.